Hello everybody. Today we have a question that comes from an Algebra 2 study guide for a final exam. So in this question, our goal here is to determine which of these four equations have roots of 1 plus 3i and 1 minus 3i. So one strategy that we could use is to go through each of these equations down here and do the quadratic formula for each of them and figure out which ones have those two roots. The problem with that is that A, it's time consuming, and B, it gives us a lot of opportunity to make mistakes, right? If we forget a negative sign somewhere, we do something really small, it's going to throw us off. And when you're doing four different equations, you have a lot of little pieces in there where you're going to have opportunities to mess up. So what we're going to do is go ahead and work backwards. So if I have 1 plus 3i and 1 minus 3i as roots, that means that the x coordinate, right, of where it crosses the x-axis is going to be 1 plus 3i, and x is going to be 1 minus 3i. Right, so these are our two roots. These are our x coordinates, our x values. So if you think back to a question like this, where we have a pretty simple quadratic, if I want to solve this, I can factor it, and I can say x plus 2 and x plus 3 are the two factors. And I know that my roots, I can set each one equal to 0, right? And then I can solve x equals -2 and x equals -3. All right, so these are my roots. Roots are -2 and -3, -3. All right, just like in our other question. So what we're going to do is go backwards, and in order to go backwards from starting here, kind of what we have on our last problem, on our original problem, we can work up to this point. So to do that, all I'm doing is moving back over this 3, right? Plus 3 on both sides, plus 3 on both sides. So I end up back at this step up here, and the same thing on the other side, right? So all we're doing is resetting this, right, our roots, back equal to 0. We're working back up that direction. So back on our other equation, if I can set this guy and this guy back equal to 0, well, then I can just multiply those two factors together to get back up to our original equation. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll have x minus 1 minus 3i equals 0, and x minus 1 plus 3i equal to 0. All right, I just moved each of these things over to the other side there. I wanted to keep my x positive just for simplicity's sake. All right, so now that we have these two things equal to 0, right, just like we did here, well, where did this come from? Well, it came from this piece right here. So if I can multiply those two things together, I can get back up to my original. So we'll say that x minus 1 minus 3i times x minus 1 plus 3i equals 0, right? And this, again, same thing. We're trying to figure out our roots here if we were going that direction. And we know that one of these two things has to be equal to 0, which is where this comes from, right? We're just going back in the other direction. All right, so now all I have to do is figure out what I get when I multiply these two factors together. So we got a little bit of work to do. So x times x, we'll get x squared minus x, right? X times -1, and x times 3i, so plus 3ix. All right, we continue to distribute. We get the negative x, -1 times x, -1 times -1 is positive 1, -1 times 3i gets us minus 3i. All right, we continue to distribute. We already did that one. We got the 3i to distribute. Excuse me, the negative 3i. So we have minus 3i x plus 3i, right? Negative 3i times -1. And then we have a negative 3i times positive 3i. And we can break that down a little bit. So we have a negative 3i times a positive 3i. So we have the negative 3 times 3 gets us the -9. And if we remember, I is really the square root of -1. So square root of -1 times square root of -1 just gets us -1, right? The square roots undo each other. So we really have negative 9 times negative 1, or just 9. All right, let's erase some of this. We got some more room. All right, so we said that this was going to be plus 9. All right, now we got to combine all these like terms. Let's get rid of these first. We have a positive 3ix and a negative 3ix. Those cancel. We also have a negative 3i and a positive 3i. Those cancel. Now we have an x squared. All right, we use that one. Negative x minus x gets us negative 2x. Use that one. And we have a 1 plus 9 plus 10 equals 0. And we're done. So we go back up to our choices, and it looks like B is our answer. So again, to recap here, we went backwards just like we could have in this case, right? If we know what our roots are here, we can work back up to see what our factors are here, multiply them together to end up with our equation. Same thing over here. We had our roots right here. We worked backwards to see what our factors were here. We multiplied them together to get this big mess. We combined all of our like terms, and we ended up with the equation that has the roots 1 plus 3i and 1 minus 3i. All right. Thanks. Good luck on your upcoming tests.